What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Today I'm telling you why I stopped intermittent fasting. Now, keep in mind, I still recommend intermittent fasting for most people. It's just that I find after a while of trying to make it work that I simply cannot sustain it anymore. And this might be temporary or it might be permanent. It's too early to say. Um, but if I have the chance to make it work again, I'm going to keep doing it because it's an excellent practice and it leads to longevity and it leads to a proper, let's just say, environment to keep a healthy body weight, whether you do physical training or not. So I stopped intermittent fasting for one main reason, which I'm going to explain. But first, let's start with my history with intermittent fasting. Basically, when I was younger, I always have had like a problems with food, mainly due to the fact that I was always fat or overweight, and I actually got to borderline obese when I was like 11. When I started intermittent fasting, I discovered that I was able to eat filling meals and still keep a healthy body fat percentage without having to do some crazy ass recipes like the Greg circle diet. Just with basic ass food, I was able to be completely filled, which for me at least was a new thing since I always had like a bigger appetite than basically my energy consumption. So that's why I always tended to be at a higher body fat percentage. I started doing it in 2019, 2018 when I was like 16, mainly due to the fact that I was also doing the keto diet and I got into, the intermittent fasting. And I started with the 16-8 protocol way back before it was cool, to do intermittent fasting. I discovered the protocol and started doing it. Then I progressed onto 24, OMAD, and even threw in some prolonged fasting here and there. Especially on Fridays, I would usually like to do a 48 to 72-hour fast to see how it went. So I have an ample experience with the practice of fasting. And I have to say, overall, it works wonders for people with large appetites. Because of what I said, most meals are going to be filling, especially if they're not deficient in protein. But even so, if you try to eat, your daily calories on junk food, even on intermittent fasting, unless you're doing like basic 16-8, if you're doing stuff like OMAD, try eating, your calorie goal with just junk food, and you're still going to struggle a lot unless you drink straight up oil from the container. But outside of that, or ice cream, but outside of that, it's really difficult to actually eat at a surplus with intermittent fasting, which is great for people with large appetites. It also simplifies life and it gives you more stable energy throughout the day once you accommodate to the diet. That's the only caveat. But it simplifies life in the sense that you don't have to bring a Tupperware with you, and it makes basically work and school easier or simpler in the sense of you don't have to be thinking, oh, I need to buy lunch so I can, get my calories or my protein, or you don't have to bring in the Tupperware. You just do your thing. Once you get out of school, get out of your job, you go back home and you pull out the meal you prepped the night before, or you start cooking, and you eat like a very decent meal. And that's another thing. It allows you to make healthier choices easier. Because one thing is to be in the need, or being used to have lunch and needing to choose between, not having lunch and an unhealthy meal. And the other one is just not having that meal in the first place and be like, okay, once I get home, I'm cooking, a chicken breast, some salad, and some rice. Then those are two different things. Those are two different lifestyles, let's just say. So in the end, you end up making better choices overall. I tried different diets with the intermittent fasting. I did keto, carnivore, high protein, and plant-based. And I have to say that it works wonders. Um, Especially with plant-based, I'd say that it's so filling that if you want to cut without feeling like you're cutting outside of, sometimes feeling with lower energy, plant-based intermittent fasting is just brutal. Whatever protocol you want to follow, every single food on a plant-based diet either has fiber or has a bunch of nutrients. So while you eat, in that manner, you're going to be constantly filled up, and as long as you manage to have an adequate protein intake, you're going to shed the fat like very fast. Um, Even so, carnivore was also really cool with OMAD because it was so simple. You just get home, eat some ribs, and then you're free to go for the rest of the day. That was amazing. And keto as well. Like it was the same as carnivore, just add some salad, so it was really good, especially with 24, not OMAD, but 24 because the vegetables really fill you up. Um, Keep in mind, I still believe that it's effective for gaining muscle. I got all my results under intermittent fasting, and I stand by its effectiveness. Total protein is more important than protein distribution. And when people tell you to eat multiple meals containing protein to maximally stimulate the mTOR C1 complex, let me tell you, we're talking about grasping at straws, like very minimal stuff. The most important thing, and the thing that's going to have an effect for most people, is going to be having adequate protein intake, because you absorb all of the protein you eat and you have an amino acid pool. So then when you need it, your body is going to synthesize the protein that it needs, or the amino acids that it needs out of the amino acid pool you have, on your body. Also, intermittent fasting helps in terms of cognition. It helps in terms of mental clarity. Like when I am fed, I don't have the same level of mental clarity that I have when I'm fasted. When I'm fasted, I can sit down and dig into a task for hours, and only after I finish, I'm like, I could probably get something to eat. But it really allows you to hyper focus and not get distracted, and it's very stable. You're not thinking about food. You're not thinking about, oh, I'm tired. You're just like, I finished this task. Especially as soon as you wake up, if you don't eat anything, it's like your brain, turns on. It's like, damn, bro, like we gotta get this shit done. So that's my history with intermittent fasting. Now, why then am I stopping intermittent fasting? Well, basically, as you know, I went to the gym in 2023, and even though I progressed a lot in that year, I hit a hard plateau in the gym, and I mean hard. Like when I mean hard, I mean like Diddy and Epstein's Islands hard, because it's not that I wasn't getting stronger, I was, but my body weight was not budging, like at all. Um, I was fluctuating up and down, and I was overall keeping it in the same range, but I was keeping it in the same range. I wasn't going up, even though I was trying to bulk at that time. I was trying to gain more body weight, not only to make body weight movements more difficult, but to have a proper environment to grow. But what ended up happening is that I went from 78 kilograms, sometimes 77, sometimes 79, and I dropped down to 72. Then I bounced to a stable 75 kilograms that I maintained throughout 2024. And this really was a struggle because I was constantly pushing to gain muscle or to gain body weight, at least fat, whatever. And I was stuck in that 75 kilograms. And my strength was going up in terms of I was getting reps working out at home, weighing the same thing, which means I'm progressing. But I wanted to gain more muscle, and I felt that yes, I could recomp, but I was actually recomping against my will because I was actively trying to bulk, but I was failing to do so, and therefore I was maintaining and gaining muscle, which is a recomp. So that's pretty funny. But what isn't funny is that in 2025, I did the opposite. I actually spent the whole year fighting for maintenance. I was trying to maintain that 75 kilograms, not even gaining weight. Like I was desperately trying to eat. I tried like eating ice cream, cookies. I tried everything, and it didn't work. It didn't work. I was literally suffering to just even maintain my body weight, and this all went to shit when I started, involving myself more with work. I was more focused, on getting shit done, and not worrying about, oh, it's my bicep big enough, and also started eating more plant-based. And especially the second part, it really caused me to rapidly start leaning out. And I lost a lot of body fat, a lot of body weight, water weight as well, and probably a lot of muscle as well. And a couple days ago, I hit 70 kilograms, and that was my wake up call. I was like, whoa, I really need to change this, you know? And I felt with no energy since 2024. Basically, I felt with lower energy, no motivation, no strength, bad recovery, and I tended to over rely on caffeine, and I had a poor sleeping pattern. And this got only worse and worse as time went by until I finally made the choice. I even was on the verge of giving up the pursuit of gaining more muscle because it was such a struggle and it was taking so much effort from me that I was like, okay, what I have right now is enough. I need to focus on work, which is a poor mindset to have. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's fine if you're like, I need to prioritize work, you know, and that's fine, but you shouldn't quit something that is so integral to you, you know, the pursuit of more muscle. It might take, you know, the back seat, but it shouldn't be given up altogether, you know. Um, so what changed? So basically, I started, you know, I tried multiple things, and I'm going to mention what I tried to improve my condition. But there were some key moments that I would point out that made me make the choice, and it was because I was basically sort of reverting the bad state I was in. So I was back then trying to improve my fatigue state, my lethargy, basically my lethargic state with BCAAs because they compete with tryptophan in the blood-brain barrier via the LAB1 transporter. So I was like, okay, supplement BCAAs, I feel less fatigue. Let's see if it works. It didn't. It worked for a while, but it wasn't like a significant change compared to what I expected. And the price of BCAAs didn't actually, you know, I didn't buy the BCAAs in the form of, you know, already prepared for instant drink. I bought the amino acids by themselves, the lab grade amino acids, um, because most BCAA supplements are absolute dog shit, just to let you know. So I bought the amino acids and they taste like shit. So I one day decided to add those instant juices that have sugar in them into my workout. And I got a really, really good workout. I was like, damn, it must be the BCAAs. Then I tried it without the BCAAs and I was like, wow, no, it actually was the juice, you know? It's always the juice, you know? But keep in mind that workout in the morning fasted. So because of that, having that extra sugar actually made a huge deal in terms of improving my performance. I was like, okay, maybe I need to eat more. Then I got this notion sort of confirmed when I, on three separate occasions, had like a regular ass soda, you know, like Coke, like a knockoff brand, but you know what I mean. And I immediately felt alive again. You know, I still felt kind of lethargic, but way less than I was at the moment. So I was like, man, I feel more motivated. It must be the calories, right? So then I tried eating more, but combining intermittent fasting and plant-based eating, and it wasn't the most pleasant of experiences. It was really hard. Even adding oils, it was still a struggle because yes, oil is very calorie dense, but what people don't really understand is that unless you eat something like ice cream, and even so, unless you eat something like ice cream, um, in general, when you add fat to something, yes, that fat's going to have a lot of calories, but it's also going to satiate you a lot. Like for example, try eating, you know, your calorie intake with just peanuts. They are high fat. They're like they have 600 calories per 100 grams, a little bit more even. Um, and you're going to eat like 100 grams and you're going to be like, okay, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to eat this shit anymore. You know, it's really hard to actually overeat even on fats and even on fats and carbs. It's only when you know, tweak it perfectly, you know, you hit the bliss point between sugar, salt, and fat that you might get a very calorie dense meal that someone that doesn't do any type of physical activity or doesn't have any type of muscle mass, that person is going to gain weight eating that. But if you're someone that's jacked and or at least muscular and has a kind of, you know, you go out for a walk and you work out sort of frequently, it's really hard to actually, you know, eat enough to actually gain weight, you know. And this is with junk food. Think about oils. It's going to be impossible. Like who is like, oh yes, let me just drizzle this like in oil, and then I'm going to add some more and some more to the point that is, you know, relevant. It's usually like an extra 200, 300 calories worth of oil, which, yes, if you eat 6 meals a day, that adds up, which makes sense. But if you eat 2 to 3 meals a day, what's 600 calories for a guy that works out? Nothing. It's nothing. So at the end of the day, it was really hard even adding oils. So that's when I really decided to quit intermittent fasting, because I'm like, I'm trying every goddamn strategy that I can to eat more, and I can't. I just simply can't. It's very difficult. So I finally decided to quit the diet, but since I never was a breakfast person, I decided to settle by just adding, powdered whole milk to my 2 coffees that I have in the morning, um, like 50 grams per cup, and that made like a huge difference. I felt like 2022 again. I was with motivation. I was filled with energy. I felt stronger. I actually got PRs on my body weight movements, and my appetite actually grows as well. I actually have more of an appetite right now, so that's a positive. I also implemented some other strategies, like partially, not completely, partially replacing diet soda with regular soda, which you might say, hey, that's bad. And I'd say, no, it isn't. I need the calories basically. And it's not like that's the only thing I drink throughout the day. I drink water, I drink, like diet juices, and sometimes, I have regular soda, which helps to pile in the calories, which, that scene in Baki where, he was poisoned and he got cured because of a poison. And then Retsu is like, okay, let me pour, some sugar water for you in a bucket, and then the guy drinks it and gets jacked. Well, I'm trying to do exactly that, because right now I'm 70 kilograms, or sort of, I need to get those calories to get my weight back up. I don't care if I gain fat. I need to get my body weight up. That's what I'm trying to get at. So I'm using those strategies as well. Of course, I'm adding oil to my meals, and I'm choosing whole milk, of course, instead of skimmed or non-fat powdered milk. So why I think it worked? Well, I think it's pretty simple. The main cause is more time to eat. I eat more calories and hence better chances to grow, because you're in a more anabolic environment. You recover better, you sleep better, you have lower stress because of it. You don't tend to over rely on caffeine for energy, because you wake up in the morning and you have like straight up calories into your system. So overall, that's the main cause. It could also be that because fasting causes cortisol to spike up, which it isn't bad. Like having stress in your body is not bad. Uh, if you're not working out, if you're not doing any type of physical activity, or you do stuff like just going out for walks, and you're not walking appreciable differences, then in that case, fasting, that cortisol spike from fasting might actually be beneficial, a hormetic stress, if you will. Um, but having breakfast, in my case, might actually help in lowering cortisol, and therefore have less stress on my body. It might be also a calcium deficiency, because it is a huge coincidence that I add the number one source of calcium to my diet, and suddenly, I spike up in energy, which calcium deficiency has one of the symptoms being fatigue. So it might be the calcium, it might be the sugar. You have faster acting sources of energy to work out instead of being fasted. It might be psychological aspects as well. We can't really say. Um, I'd say that this is probably not an issue, because I tried multiple things to improve my mental health to see if it was psychological, and it wasn't. My mental health improved for sure, but my physical energy only improved when I started having breakfast. So I highly doubt it. Um, it could also be a coincidence that I'm currently on a lower stress environment, and I suddenly switch up to this and it aligns perfectly. I doubt it again, because I also had like a low stress environment a couple of months ago, and I still felt very tired. So keep that in mind. Key things to consider. I'm really convinced that it was the starting having breakfast and eating more calories overall, because poor programming had nothing to do with it. I tried multiple programs, And you know, I'm not bad at programming. Like my clients were always happy with my programs. I actually sent an age back then a couple of programs, and he loved them. Um, and actually, I remember he praised me for one of the programs. So keep that in mind. I make really good programs, so I don't think programming was an issue. I wasn't deficient in anything outside of possibly calcium, but even so, this calcium deficiency would take place at the end of 2025 when I became more plant-based and wouldn't explain the rest. Um, Also, I tried removing social media. What I said, I tried to improve my mental health, and it helped tremendously in terms of mental health, but it didn't help in terms of physical well-being. I tried supplementing BCAAs, vitamins, arginine, creatine, and minerals. And although with the BCAAs and the creatine, I did see improvements in terms of performance, I didn't see improvements in terms of how I felt. The arginine just did bullshit. That might be because of the lower absorption of the amino acid, but who knows? So overall, things remain practically the same. Then I tried different protein intakes, 1.2 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram. That's the range I played with. I tried incorporating wheat protein, protein powders, because maybe, plant protein, I need more protein to compensate, for probably the lower digestibility or the lower, content of EAAs, but nothing changed, honestly. In fact, I actually felt better with lower protein, so keep that in mind. And I tried adding fats because I thought, hey, maybe I'm deficient in fats, in fatty acids. I tried also supplementing omega-3s. I forgot to add this into the presentation, but also that. I added fats via oil, seeds, and nuts as well. And again, nothing changed. So in conclusion, I can say that the main culprit was eating more, and that's the reason why I'm quitting intermittent fasting. I still believe intermittent fasting is a great practice, and if you can pull it off, and if I'm able to pull it off in the future again, I'm going to do so because it is so practical, so efficient, so good for you in terms of health, that I would really struggle to tell you to not do it. It's just that currently I need to eat more. I need to, gain body weight because it is really hard to keep my body weight in check with my current diet. And even though I feel the diet is great, I feel, let's just say, great with the diet in terms of the food choices, in terms of I haven't seen any problems in terms of performance per se, but I was feeling like really down because of the low calorie intake. So instead of switching the diet, I decided to accommodate the frequency of eating, basically. So this was my personal choice. I would like to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and really tell me why you think I'm wrong, why you think I'm right. If you want to call me a dumbass, for me like, oh, why wouldn't you eat more? That's so obvious. Well, if you were in my shoes, you would understand. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and thanks for watching.